Gymnastics and those who are conscious and current advocates and activists for the work in this space as well. And make sure that we're prioritizing truly the foundation of why this is important. We know that historically, when it comes to creating spaces, ensuring that psychological safety, physical safety, and intentionality around how people are able to show up and exist in this world, we can even speak for this country in particular, has not always been the best avenue for Black bodies, for brown bodies, for melanated bodies. So Brown Girls is meant to specifically be a space where we can show up for ourselves intentionally, where we can ensure that psychological safety, that well-being, the I got you girl, you got me, we're showing up for each other is inherent to how we exist in the world around us. And that not only carries through our athleticism, but how we show up as part of members of our different communities that we belong to as well. So this isn't just about the sport. While that is the primary focus, it's about all of us and how we engage with one another, the level of support that's necessary and needed across those different dimensions, and how we can actually be active advocates for this work. What does that actually mean and look like? So before we hop into today's dialogue, just a couple of reminders. There is a chat function, so please feel free, whether you're streaming through YouTube or whether you're streaming on Facebook, or whichever device you typically use when you're wasting time at work. Make sure that you use it. I will be facilitating conversation through the comments. And if you have anything that you want us to elevate or be mindful of as we think about future town halls, you can also drop those notes here. We do have experts and people who are close to this work coming in. So if you have things specific to them, please still use the chat. I can facilitate that conversation. And also just want to do a brief reminder that between March 6th through 8th, the Isla Foundation will be hosting the HBCU Classic 2026, right? So in Atlanta, one of the blackest cities I know. And honestly, I grew up in Riverdale, just outside of Atlanta. But knowing the history and the level of support and care that I always feel when I'm in the South, specifically Atlanta, hosting the Classic here really allows it to truly feel like home. Again, this space is meant to feel energizing. It's meant to be inspiring. It's meant to make history. Not only are you there to witness it, but you're also there to make it yourselves. So in this opportunity, there will be a festival and a vendor's market. We have the Isla Invitational. There will be meet and greets. We have the collegiate gymnastics competition. So all types of different ways to be involved. Coach, if I've missed anything about the Classic that's pertinent to bring up, again, March 6th through 8th, 2026 in Atlanta, Georgia, please feel free to drop it in. But with that in mind, I'm going to bring in Coach to say a quick hello. And then we're going to go. Not that quick, Coach.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Leela. You've said it all. I will add that we have our two powerhouse HBCU gymnastics teams. So Fisk and Wilberforce will be competing with William and Mary, which is coached by Kelsey Hinton, who is a Black lady, a brown girl who did gymnastics. So it'd be nice to have all three teams there and showing you guys what they got. So thank you, Leela, for introing that.
Of course. Thanks, Coach. Again, the Classic's purpose is awareness, right? It's about visibility. It's about opportunity. Again, even thinking about signing my kids up for gymnastics in a city like Chicago, which is also an inherently Black and brown city, it was founded by Point du Sable, right? So a Black man who came to this land after having to deal with all those pieces that was happening at those points in history. And I cannot find a place for my kids to go and participate. They can't tumble. There's no circus arts. There aren't any types of other spaces for them to lean into that. So right now I have them doing things like jujitsu and cheerleading, but I would love for them to know that joy of tumbling, gymnastics, any type of those performance athletic arts that they could, but in a very much so Black and brown city like this, the opportunity isn't there. So the classic provides opportunity, but it also helps us become consciously aware that we out here, right? And that this space is ours. We belong here. We set trends. We are the vibe. We are the change makers and the infrastructure of what gymnastics means. Everything they do is a copy. So from, and again, I've said it before, from DAWs to BIOS, we've been up in here, okay? And this is also a call to strengthen our infrastructure. We need to be intentional about the foundation of this work so that it can be a legacy of sustainability. And then it also creates those pathways for other teams to be created. With that in mind, Coach, are there any last pieces? Because I would also love to introduce, our first guest and get the conversation going there too.
Nope, I think you got it all. Thanks again. And I can't wait to hear from your next guest.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Just a reminder, y'all, Coach was my coach back when I was like, I don't know, how old was I back then? I'm 38 now. She told me to stop telling people this.
I was just about to say, stop, like, you can just leave it at that part and we good. Yes, that was my baby. She was my baby.
I still am. I may, look very much my age, and Coach looked the same way she did back when I was, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11. But I appreciate her in the space. But I also want to introduce another lovely person, another brown girl into the space. I would like to have everyone welcome Coach Mo, please, Dr. Morgan Bird. I'm head gymnastics coach of Wilberforce Gymnastics. I know we want to talk a lot about how community commitment and engagement is vital. We want to talk about the need for the booster clubs and what those spaces mean. We have to reconcile with the financial stability that's needed, the community support. I just want to open the space up to you. So please tell us all how we can be more intentional in our advocacy and our ability to take up space in the movement.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It is a true honor. And just being a part of Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, being a brown girl who did gymnastics, I know that the space is very limited. So now being in a position to provide the space for brown and Black girls is beyond my wildest dreams. The importance in showing up and supporting your HBCUs that have gymnastics programs for the future generation is so crucial. We already know that HBCUs are underfunded, and that is unfortunately a setback for all. We know that PWIs always show up in regards to their alumni and their donations, and we hear about the constant reach out of fundraisers that alumni do, as well as booster clubs do. And so when it comes to HBCU extracurricular activities such as sports teams, sometimes that present isn't as dominant. And so with sports such as gymnastics, which is a very, very expensive sport, yes, we do rely on the university. However, we also have to rely on ourselves and the supports of the community, whether it's local or national. And that's just something that we're constantly working towards and trying to broaden our horizons with. So the importance to support not only the current generation that's there, the current girls that are currently training, but almost the big picture in being able to sustain the program. And that's something that we are constantly fighting an uphill battle. But the good thing about uphill battles is that there's always a peak at the top. And I believe that it just takes some time and just constant advocation of this is what we need, reaching out to the public, reaching out to those who truly care and understand the importance of the sport of gymnastics, especially it being a predominantly white sport. But now we're kind of seeing that shift, especially in that last Olympic year. It was extremely diverse, probably one of the most diverse teams that I've ever seen in history, really. So knowing that that is possible, and especially within the HBCU community, that's just something to constantly work towards.
Gotcha. And you said a lot of things that were truly vital. And I thank you again for not only your presence, but just how you show up in the space, right? It takes a lot to be a visible person when you are advocating against multiple systemic inequities and having to put yourself often on the line for that too, right?
Mhm.
Again, you're doing this as someone who needed that advocacy back when you were actively participating, but you also are someone who knows how vital and key this is for those who are currently doing engaging in this form of athleticism. So
Mhm.
for you, you were talking about what's needed. A lot of people still do not understand what is actually needed. What is the role of the booster club? How do they actually make change happen? And what does that look like? How do we leverage relationships within our institutions? And
Mhm.
what can and can't we expect to get and receive from them?
Mhm.
And what do we need from the community? So I guess it's a threefold. I know it's a long question. I talk in paragraphs, not sentences. Um, so please, accept me for who I am. But essentially, in that, knowing what's needed, what do we need from our
Mhm.
boosters, our institutions, and
Mhm.
our community from your perspective?
Absolutely. So our booster club is doing great in the form of supporting our gymnasts in the comfortability standpoint. They do fundraisers. We also do fundraisers as a university, and they just allow us to have some form of a cushion under what the university is unable to fairly give, you know, our team, because there are multiple teams, multiple sports teams on our campus, and they are all across the board depending on the shift of financial need. And sometimes gymnastics, especially it being a newer sport, it doesn't get the full financial support. So our booster club absolutely comes in and helps with the sustainability, I'm sorry, of the comfort level of the girls, whether it's a mental care package, or whether it's extra snacks, or even if it's supporting us in clothing and gear or hotel stays. It can be a whole gambit of a variety of what the booster club is able to provide. And this is a parent run organization, a nonprofit organization, that helps the coaching staff as well as the girls to have an enjoyable experience at an HBCU at college. And so I like to tell my girls, we are still operating at the mentality of a D1, D2 college level. We are still expecting this high level performance. So with that high level performance, there should be high level, whether it's rehab, or high level nutrition, or high level mental care, or whatever the case will be. The lack of equipment or lack of uniforms, or whatever the case is, should not hinder someone's experience. From the university standpoint, it's reaching out to the alumni, allowing the team to uh, participate in fundraisers within the, well, so it's funny because the institution and community kind of play in together, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
it's the community that surrounds the Dayton area, so the local gyms, so allowing our presence to be known, as well as the alumni chapters that are heavily present in, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Philadelphia, whatever the case is, and just banding together to continue to help support this program, not only for this season, for the next season, or the season after that, but just a continuation until we are able to sustain ourselves.
No, that's perfect. And I feel like a lot of institutions forget some of those pieces, right? That they are part of a community. You aren't something that just landed in this space and the community was built around you, but you actually took up space, and it's a necessity for you
Mhm.
to be as integrated as possible. And that means showing up for the communities of those folks that exist there. No, thank you. I want to add in some additional perspectives too that I know are going to be able to co-sign and elevate. Is Jeff available? And I know we have a rep from Fisk as well, but if Jeff McKinney, my homie from One Integration, if you could come in, I have the same question for you. And let me tell y'all, I can listen to Jeff talk all day, right? I got to make my way down to Texas so we can get some ribs and do some yapping.
Oh,
But
damn.
uh, I know your passion for this work as well. So, from your perspective, there is an opportunity gap there is a visibility gap. How do we close these barriers that we see? And what do you feel is necessary from the community or our institutional partners?
You know, for me in my position, that's a very loaded question.
Mhm.
I've got to be diplomatic in the way that I approach the answer. So first off, I would like to say, love the response from Coach Mo.
Mhm.
The statement that she said was lack should not hinder. And what I've heard by way of our current situation that we're working through at Fisk is that uh, lack is hindering.
Mm.
And I don't know that that's come from the girls, but that's been the university stance. Now, when we look back at the level of performance over the last 3 years, I don't see hindrance. I actually see, and I should say this: I am not a former gymnast. I am not a brown girl. I am none of those things. But I am someone with a heart that cares, that's paying attention. And as it relates to Fisk University, I haven't seen anything come along um, that grabs this type of attention outside of the Jubilee Singers in my time as an alum. And I graduated in 2002, and so that's 20 plus years. And so we have an opportunity if we can, as a community, and that's really the question. For me, I'm just one person, and I'm showing up here because I care. I'm showing up here because there's a stigma that black men don't stand with black women. I'm showing up here because I believe there's a huge opportunity to address some fundamental gaps in overall funding at the university level for Fisk. And I do believe that when you just stop for just a moment and pause and you look at any young female gymnast of color, and you can go back and just look at what it looked like, the results there in the summer games, there's a level of excellence here that it's almost like we're not going to harvest our own natural resource. And so that's not something that me as an alum, I'm going to sit around in 15 years from now, be looking back and saying, I wish I would have done something. To answer your question directly, I believe that the community will respond.
Mhm.
I think that the community has responded.
Mhm.
I believe that our girls have shown that they don't need first class anything to be top notch, first class, top of the podium. And so, with that being said, my call to action, the reason why I'm here is I'm here to say to not just Fisk University, but to humanity, are we going to support, or are we going to allow for a few people to decide that our greatest treasure in young women of color
Mhm.
who have demonstrated the discipline to be able to reach this level are not worthy of us using our voices?
Mm.
And so I don't think that's the case. I do realize that there are a great amount of intellectual horsepower that's sitting at home right now, frustrated, and they have fans, and they're saying we're not going to listen to anyone else until the right call to action comes that we care about. And
Mm.
so I see a huge opportunity for those of us who want to use our voices to stand up and not think about self, not think about any individual university. And once integration and at home on the yard is about how can we collectively come together, use our voices, and go make a difference, to go deliver change. And so again, Coach Mo, we don't need the best. We never have. When you step on the scene at HBCU, you can feel the ancestors speak, and what they're telling us as alum and those of us who are bought into this vision, they're saying that trust your heart. We'll speak directly to you and we'll guide you. And not to allow for fear to overcome because someone said something and then went and locked themselves in a room and wouldn't come back out and talk again.
Come on now, mic drop. Between you and Coach Mo, I don't need to say nothing else. But no, but to both of your points, we have always been way makers as a people, right? You give us the mustard seed, and we conquer it all from that point on. We are deserving of everything. We know we are deserving of everything and more. But we are a people who can, make anything magnificent if we choose for it to be. And I see that every time these girls hit those mats, hit the bars. I see it every single time that they step out in those spaces, and they represent not only their institutions but themselves, their communities. They rep us, they rep their folks. So thank you both by actually doing what's necessary. You're here. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
I would just like to say before we wrap or I drop, homecoming season is upon us.
Yes, it is.
And so first weekend in November, I'll be there in Nashville. I'll have my cameras along with me. We'll be engaging with our wonderful gymnasts there on campus. And we'll also have other featured guests joining us. One that I can announce is the White George. He will be there with us, and he's very excited. And I think it may have been the thing that closed the deal was to be able to say, hey, George, GW, how about you come to Fisk homecoming with me and we can hang out with the girls and actually tell some stories. And it was a very, very, very quick yes, absolutely. I'd love to. There was no pushback. And so that again shows the power of what gymnastics and these particular girls do. University.
No, you're right. Thank you again. And I want to continue to hear and learn from you and Coach Mo as well. I also want to make sure we are reading and recognizing some of the comments that we're getting as well. So from Mick Aaron, the Wilberforce Gymnastics Booster Club is the only parent-formed booster club on the W campus. The parents have not only organized and created a booster club, but also have made it fully incorporated and 501c3 approved by the IRS. The parents are fully engaged in supporting the team for every need presented and providing some nicer, softer things along the way that helps with the current experience and appeal to future recruits. It's a 360 mission with all of it being essential to the college. Yeah. Thank you again for that work.
Kudos to Wilberforce and the Booster Club for sure.
Yeah. And you also mentioned this, Coach Mo, but people assume that all the girls need is a nicer mat. All they need is a vault or a better pump. They need the things in between, right? If you aren't taking care of yourself, your overall health and well-being, if you don't feel that you have that opportunity to really be seen, heard, and honored at the intersection of how you exist in the world, none of that other stuff matters. I mean, everybody can identify with that. If you are not well, work is not going well. Your relationships are not going well. How you treat yourself is not well. So thank you also for not just seeing them as athletes, but seeing them as people and allowing that humanity of them to be at the forefront. And then everything else is just a bonus on top. So shout out to y'all. And I know that that's something that's also been championed and elevated too.
Also with that, Leela, with what you were saying about them being humans, I think a lot of people think, like what you said, they flip, they trick, they go out, they compete, they do what they need to do, and they come back. I might be canceled for saying this, but gymnastics, I believe, is one of the hardest sports in the world. Not only is it physical, it is 100% mental. It is agility, it's coordination. You have to know what you are doing when you're doing it. You have to, if you make a mistake, you have to change it in the bit of a second. And it just gets harder from there. So for our girls, it's so much more than just waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning to practice. It's so much more than just, either coming to me, not only as their coach, but as a physical therapist to say, okay, this is what's going on. How can I help you? How can our athletic trainers from an offsite entity help you? It's sitting with them during our individual meetings, like really understanding what's going on, not just in the gymnastics world, but personally too. So it's not just the sports aspect that can turn a lot of things sour. It's just everything. So that's why it's extremely, extremely important to unite together in all forms to help sustain these young women in the sport that they're doing, because it's not easy at all, but they love it. So we have to keep that love going.
Valid. Thank you so much. I also want to make sure that we're hearing from one of the moms of one of our amazing D1 gymnasts. So is Tiki available? I would love to have you come in and join us in the space, because we're talking about seeing our girls. They are people first. They are also students. They are also college athletes. But there's so much more than that. And one of them is your baby. So we want to know from your perspective as a parent, where do you feel we can better serve, better lean in as we are working to champion HBCU gymnastics?
So first of all, good evening to everybody. I went back and I kind of thought over Darion's 5 years at Auburn and some of the things that I noticed that some of the PWIs did versus what can be done, not that it's not being done, but can be done a little bit more when it comes to the HBCU gymnastics teams. And there was like 4 things that stood out to me. So I'm going to tell you what the 4 are, and then I'm going to break it down. So how I feel like the Division I programs build community and rally support is they make the athletes visible. They create traditions. And Jeff said something that I agree with. They tell stories and they stay consistent. Now I'm going to tell you what I mean by all of those things. So when I say that the athletes are made visible, they're made visible through media, campus events, and storytelling. They do it online, they do it on campus, and in the community. So Auburn Gymnastics has their Instagram page. The girls do things on their page, is shared. They're now tagging Auburn Gymnastics page. They do a lot of community events. They go into some of the other gymnastics programs. They actually had one at Auburn, so they would do that. They would go into some of the schools, the elementary schools, and do like gymnastics or like little tumbling classes in there also. They do their little TikTok videos, and they do little things around campus that's just not gymnastics related. If there's something going on with football, they'll support football. If it's baseball, they'll support baseball. Like some of the girls did the first pitch or whatever. They support basketball. Like they have a community where every sport make sure that they include and support each other. And that was probably made popular by Bruce Pearl, because he was huge on that. The gymnasts are celebrated not just for their wins, but like for their effort, their leadership and character. Like they give out a lot of they have a lot of awards and stuff for that kind of thing. And another thing is the traditions. And I know HBCUs have their own traditions, but for Auburn, like there were certain rituals before meets. Alumni weekends are huge. and they have a consistent team culture. They build traditions that feel personal. One of those things is rolling tumors after a big win. Everybody gets toilet paper and they roll the trees. They have somebody have to go and clean it up later, but like that is one of the biggest traditions that they have is they roll tumors. Another tradition that I remember is Tiger Walk. The football players do it, the gymnasts do it, and I'm pretty sure everybody else. I've not been at a basketball game where I've seen the beginning part of it, but for football and for gymnastics, I know they do that. Another one of their traditions is just whenever you see somebody in Auburn gear or that went to Auburn, is when you see somebody, they greet each other with War Eagle and they say War Eagle back. What else do they have? They have their swag surf thing that they do. Each sport does that. And then another thing is their coaches tell real stories that connect emotionally with their donors or their audience or whoever they're trying to bring in. And that was something that I heard Jeff mention. And that's true. The coaches, the athletes, and the staff all share personal journeys that connect with the fans and the donors. And that's another attention grabber. And when they feel like they're connected to your team or to the athletes, I feel like that makes them want to give more. Because if they don't know you personally, or if they don't know what you need, and that's why I'm glad Coach Mose is pointing out the things that the gymnasts need, because most people have no idea. They think that they just send their kid to college and they're just going to compete. I thought that. We thought Darian was going to go do work and going to do gymnastics. I didn't know she was going to have media training. I didn't know she was going to have, she had a mentor. She had community service hours. She had study hours. It was so much more than what we thought. Like, she barely had time, but I always had to remind her that she was a student first and an athlete second. And then just being there, because I was that parent that was there every week. I went in early and I sat down and I mentally prepared a lot of the athletes that I know didn't get that from home. So we would have like a round table. We would talk about things that may have been bothering them or anything that I felt like would hinder them, because like Coach Mo said, it's mostly mental.
Yeah.
And we would do stuff like that. It was, we at Auburn, Darian didn't lack when it came to anything, but there was still so much more that she needed. And I can honestly say that they went above and beyond and gave her a lot of stuff.
Gotcha.
But we still had to, when it came to food, still had to feed her, because she had one of the best meal plans, but it still only covered a certain number of meals, where I thought she was going to eat every day, 3 meals a day. It wasn't like that.
No.
So I was still providing food for her. She was one of those athletes that ate. So she was not one of those ones that wasn't going to eat before meet. She would eat before the meet, during the meet, after the meet. I'd sent her to a meet with a bag full of food, because she had to fuel her body. So those are some of the things that we had to make sure she understood. And a lot of people don't understand that. And they would ask her, like, why are you eating, or how are you eating? And she was like, how are you not? Like, how are you going to make it through a bar routine or
that's
a
my
whole
daddy
meet
went
if
through.
you're starving?
My daddy used to sit us down, and when he knew we had a meet coming up, I was like, oh, look at all this. We got pizza, spaghetti. That man fed us like he ain't never fed us before.
Absolutely.
You know, it also reminds me, I was just joking with the 6-year-old and the 8-year-old. I was like, dang, I got to feed y'all every day. Sounds like a lot of responsibility. I don't remember that part of the manual, but they was like, yeah, we're hungry. I said, I just fed you. They're like, yeah, but you got to feed us again. I said, oh, Where's your grandmother? Maybe you need some reinforcement. But we thank you, Kiki, because you are helping us with added perspective, right? From coach's perspective, from Jeff's perspective, my perspective, even. And child, I ain't flipped or did anything since 90, 2000 something. Okay. But I do remember just that needed experience of one, you're talking about community, you're talking about how do we show up for ourselves and each other, and then just the practical stuff, the logistical things people don't think about. You have to feel your body, you have to feel your mind, you have to feel just how you see yourself and those pieces around care and adjusting to all these different environments. But you're also talking about those pieces that we don't get to really focus on. You're talking about the media training. We're talking about what does it actually mean to have to find balance between all the different ways that we show up and we identify in this space. So again, as people are listening, I hope you're hearing different opportunities that even exist for you to show up in these spaces, right? You may be someone who can fill in a media training gap. You may be someone who can fill in a food source gap or making sure that there are snacks. Now that I got one in soccer, I've had to do the soccer mom rotation on bringing the orange slices and juice boxes. And that does not stop just because folks go to college. Again, these kids eat every single day, apparently. Didn't know. So please make sure that you are finding opportunities and avenues. But if you know you have this unique ability, you know, a special set of skills, Liam Neeson style, use that to lean in, right? I'm someone who likes to talk. I'm a professional yapper. That's why I do this. This is my way of showing up. So consider what are those unique skills, even if it's just being someone that shows up and you're in the stands cheering folks on, reposting things on social media, the visibility, the awareness pieces, use what you have. I also want to bring in another comment from social media. Again, thank you again, Mick Aaron. And if I'm mispronouncing anybody's name, always feel free to correct me phonetically in the chat too. But yes, traditions, that's what builds the team culture. And our new HBCU teams have a unique opportunity to be on the ground floor of these traditions. 99% of gymnastics is between the ears. It's a 99% mental sport. All the conditions have to be optimal for success, especially teams, athletes facing scrutiny like they are. And baby, no one gets scrutinized more than a brown girl just minding her business. Okay, so don't also be out there being phenomenal in these streets, because I also believe that Black people are owed mediocrity. I love Black excellence, but a lot of times I want Black mediocrity. I want Black leave me alone, Black mind your business and let me do mine. But in these, it's okay to laugh at me, Coach Mo. I know I'm a lot. I've accepted me for who I am.
Not at all. You're just speaking the truth. That's it. That's it.
But in these spaces, you know, what does a little soundbite say on TikTok? When you're Black, you're never alone. There's always somebody trying to mind your business for you and tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, yet they don't have the skills or competency to even occupy the same space as you. I ad-lib part of that. However, the tone still stands, right? As we heard from Mom, Jeff, Coach Mo, are there any thoughts or even specific call to actions you're thinking of as you're thinking about the unique needs as articulated by Tiki, or again, based on your own experiences?
Coach?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Some unique needs that I think we have as a team. One, I'm glad that you were talking about those, Tiki, because as a new program, we are constantly still building and creating that team culture to help provide or to help build what we want it to be as Wilberforce. But some unique needs could be possible donations with transportation or possible support during our home meets or our travel meets, allowing the girls just to see the support in your city, whether it's Fisk and you want to support an HBCU, or whether it's Wilberforce and you want to support an HBCU with Fisk. Just showing up and showing out with those things. Like Tiki said, these girls eat. It's funny because they'll do meals, but they won't do meals, if that makes sense. So it's all about the snacks. It's all about snacking, whether it's tape or certain forms of equipment that we are trying to receive. It's a little bit of everything in between.
Do you have a wish list like on Amazon or something like that where you have certain items that you may need that people just can go on there and donate?
I have a wish list typed up. I haven't put it on Amazon, but I
Put it,
can
I think you should put
absolutely.
it on Amazon. That way it's
Yeah.
visible and we know,
Hmm.
because you know what the Bible says, we have not because
Hmm.
we ask not.
Yep,
So it's time for us to
that
start
part.
asking for some things because we deserve it just as much as anybody else. And I
Hmm.
think too, I think if we utilize the alumni
Hmm.
more,
Oh,
like I don't think
absolutely.
people realize that alumni are legacy builders. Like they need to return to mentor, not just donate, and they need to also be out there advocating for these programs.
Period. And that was just elevated in the chat as well, that we need alumni chapters in each city to show up at Meeson to support these girls. So yes, yes, echoed and heard all around. Period. Okay.
So I'm holding up my notebook because it's written here in my notebook as well. And so I'm just going to read down the list. Voices. We need voices. These girls need voices. Right now, we have an issue with the algorithm that is plaguing humanity. And so to be able to speak out is a bit challenging. And so to put all of that for our example, we have 12 wonderful members on our team at Fisk University this year. And so to put that on the girls and the 5 coaches, to be able to carry the weight of what they're going through, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's safe. And I think that there's more of us that can do that so that they can focus on excellence as they go into this competitive season, which I think they're kicking off December the 6th with the inter squad there in Nashville. And so that's not too far away. So we do need those voices to be able to speak up, whether it be on social media, whether it be in rooms where people are asking what can they do, speak up and be informed. Hands on deck. What we're looking at is right now the schedules are being announced. And so as these schedules are being announced, we need for the alumni associations to get all of their great big plans together on what they want to do, and then either reach out to us and figure out how we can support that, or to go ahead and just do it. But we don't want to miss an opportunity to be able to connect these girls with the communities as they're visiting, because how often do local girls and local communities get to tap in with collegiate HBCU gymnasts? This may be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so I believe that with the rarity that exists with these programs and these girls, that there should be a lot of demand there. Introductions. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for business partners. We're looking for strategic opportunities. And so we need to have these conversations. And so we at Once Integration, Black Girls, Isla Foundation, we are in the gap putting together these systems that would allow people to tap in so that we can get folks like Coach Darren and Tiki and Doc, who have been doing this for ages, to be able to now connect the dots. And then somebody like me who understands technology will be able to put some type of operations and foundation behind that, platform behind that. Don't go alone. I've already seen instances where people are trying to be the savior. And when you go about it as the savior, then large institutions and systems have the ability to silence you. And so what we don't want is we don't want for people to be silenced when their hearts are in the right place. So that's the reason why I stay connected to Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. I was not connected to Brown Girls Do Gymnastics before this. I was connected directly with the Fisk University program. Once I saw that there may be some challenges there, I said, I need allies. I need community. I need people who know what is going on here, because I'm just a guy with a heart that wants to help. And it's been a lifesaver to connect with this group in a unified fashion to help guide some of the passion that I had that could be misconstrued at times. And so I just want to say, don't go along. Tap into the folks who know how to put your words into action in a way that is productive. And join at home on the yard. At home on the yard is not about a specific program. It's about the culture. And so right now, what we see is there is not a place for us to unify and communicate without the algorithm or someone else trying to mind our business when we did not include them. Dr. Leela, you said it in a different way, but I'm agreeing with that. We need a way to be able to organize and put plans in place without disruption from those of us who are not like-minded and don't want to head in the same direction. It's okay if we leave you behind. It's okay. We are going to leave you behind. We are not going to sit in a place where people can keep distracting us from going out and achieving what we collectively see as best for this particular community, which is young brown girls who are looking to compete at the highest level at an HBCU.
Period. Listen, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, right?
Well, I'll just say that in Romans it said that a remnant will turn. Didn't say all. It said a remnant. And if you go define remnant, it's like more like a few, not the majority. So we expect to leave some people behind.
And listen, when it comes to ensuring the safety, the well-being, and the overall success in any endeavor they choose to take in their life, we are okay with leaving folks behind. All right. We are here to make sure that their survival is the priority, and to elevate from what's been said by Mom, Jeff, Coach, and even me in some spaces. It's about ensuring that the community that we have is aligned in vision, aligned in mission, and aligned in passion. And I see that and I hear that from all the ways we've connected and talked today, and even in the chat, right? We have amazing representation here, and the way folks are in the comment section going hard for HBCU Gymnastics, the girls specifically, and just making sure that they're taken care of. Even Mick has dropped in that the Wilberforce Booster Club is also developing their own wish list literally as we speak, wanting to get back to Fisk's first year when all the arenas were packed with HBCUs, not just Fisk, but reps from all these different spaces, just really re-ensuring that that presence is felt, right? Because we need a sense of visibility. And with that visibility, there comes a lot of other avenues and opportunities to collaborate and build externally. But our foundation has to be solid first, right? And it does not have to be fully formed, but we got to at least know what we standing on, right? And we have to be able to stand and hold on that together. I know that our time together has wound down, but I do want to make sure that before we show our video one more time, are there any last bits of knowledge, nuggets, call to actions, or just in any other mics that need to be dropped before we transition into the rest of our evening? So please feel free to hop in. That also goes for y'all in the comments. You know, I got you. Clarification, it's a wish list of items for the W team. Heard and understood, Mick. I appreciate it. But yes, family, any last minute ways that we can connect to our viewers and let them know that we need them. We need our alum. We need our pastors. We need the lunch ladies at the elementary school. We need, the middle schoolers who have zero interest in being gymnasts, but just love making sure that they wear colors and show up and show out. We need the TikTok girlies. We need the dances. How do we make sure that we best connect with our people in order to ensure that the needs are getting met, but the work is being elevated?
Was that a question?
Yes.
Coach, you want to take that?
Oh, absolutely. I think, as it's been said before, is that we just show up, whether it's our visibility online, whether it's our visibility through our Amazon wish list, but then also having the community show up when we do come up against whether it's our own meets. We have 13 this season, with Fisk, with HBCU championships. If we're in your local area, we have large chapters in a lot of the states that we're going to. It's just being present and showing these girls that you are there cheering them on, because nothing speaks louder than a quiet stadium. So just showing out and showing up and cheering them on.
Thank you, Coach.
I agree. Show up at the stadiums, and the booster clubs are going to be announcing other ways to connect with the girls on the road. And so be on the lookout so that you can have your own different experience away from the mat to be able to connect with these young ladies. And so look for that. I anticipate that that's going to be in especially the larger markets where the crowds are going, in the larger alumni areas are active. But be ready to participate in those things. And introductions, again, we are looking to figure out ways strategically to make sure that not just these 2, but the vision is for 6 programs, a HBCU conference. And this is not necessary, by the way. Let me make this clarification. There's some misperception that there has to be a HBCU conference in order for there to be a HBCU gymnastics program at a university. That's not true. And so in the future, what we're working towards, and this is by way of Darren, this is not Jeff, this is me following and supporting Darren. Darren's vision that we're supporting is to have 6 programs at 6 different HBCUs. And so that's what we're speaking, and that's what we're believing and working towards. And so be of that mindset and be thinking about how can we make these introductions, because if you look at just professional sports or sports in general, the growth on the side of women right now is showing that is where the investment is being made. And so why are we not in this? I mean, why should we be excluded? So that's my closing comment.
Thank you. What about you, Mom? Tiki, you have any last nugget for us to leave with before I transition?
I just want to ask a question, because I know I said that we should make sure that we rely on the alumni. What about creating something for some of the alumni gymnasts that were once part of Brown Girls Do Gymnastics? I know a lot of them have moved on to other things, but I mean, some of them are in a space where they can help. If it's just pairing some of the gymnasts up with them one-on-one, or if there's something that they can contribute, then they could do that. I mean, I think that alone, them being able to pick the brains of some of these past gymnasts, and they could tell them, some of their mistakes, or just give them some advice. I know that helped my daughter when she was in JO, and I don't know, that may help, because I remember when Leah and Zaya, before they left to go to Fisk, like, they came to my house and sat down and just talked to Darion for hours, and she gave them some advice. She even came right before, when they had the dinner at Fisk, right before Fisk started. She went in and gave them some advice and talked to them. So, I mean, maybe pairing them up with some of these girls, if they have the time, to help them, like, mentally, and some of them are in a position that they can get financially.
No, we love that. We're never turning down those opportunities to build more of that infrastructure of care, right? And that's how we see the need for, can you not hear me? It says I'm still muted. Okay. So yeah, building in the infrastructure of care, right? So no, that's a great opportunity and avenue that we would love to find space to talk about further building out. So yeah, so it's a dope question, because it leads to another avenue of support. And that's exactly what we need. And this is exactly what these moments are for. With this in mind, again, I want to thank all of you again for your voices, for the way that you have shown up, and not only shown up, but shown out for HBCU Gymnastics. I truly, and I know we all truly, Coach, appreciate your time, your advocacy, your candor. We want to hold this space again, so please be looking out for other avenues to us to do that. I would like to show our video and then bring us right back, but thank you again. Thank you. And again, shout out to all of our viewers. There's 104 of you here with us today, watching, learning, listening, leaning in. So thank you for showing up to this space. And as usual, as you saw in the video, please make sure you follow us across all of the different social media avenues. Stay connected through the website. I want to just bring Coach in this last minute to remind us again about the Classic and any last moments of call to action she may have for us. But on my end, this is truly a space and place of love, and it's been an honor sharing these opportunities and moments with y'all. But I definitely want to make sure that we turn it over to Coach Darren.
She dropped.
Oh, she dropped? Okay.
Yeah, she dropped.
So I'll do it, but don't forget that the Isla Classic is going to be March 6th through the 8th in Atlanta. There's going to be a vendor market, as was mentioned before, the invitational itself, just lots of opportunity to do exactly what we said was a priority for us. Build community, build visibility, make sure that we're sharing and we're showing up and showing out, but also making sure that we are leading with intentionality as we set a deeper foundation for HBCU Gymnastics as we continue to build out how we are taking up space in all these different avenues. All right. So again, thank you. I appreciate you all, and I can't wait to talk to you all again. You all have a great evening.